These are the do's and don'ts of public speaking. I'm Jason Hewlett, keynote speaker, Hall of Fame speaker, and award-winning entertainer. Here I reveal the top 5 crucial mistakes people make when public speaking and how to avoid overusing anecdotes and other rhetoric. In this episode, I'll also unveil the secrets to utilizing your own speaking stories, creating your own signature moments, as well as how you can utilize stories, quotes, references, and other things that you feel are important for the audience to enjoy. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to captivate your audience in a conversational manner. You'll be able to walk away saying, I know what I'm doing as a speaker. You'll show up on time, be prepared, and leave them wanting more. Let's talk about the top 5 don'ts of public speaking. Number 1, don't steal people's stories. That's such a shame. When I have heard somebody get up on stage and share something that somebody else said at another conference, that's always a bummer. Or when they saw it on somebody's TED Talk, that's really a shame. That somebody would stand up and steal somebody's story. Who does that? Lots of people do. Don't do it. Number 2, don't do the Starfish story or other overused stories. Now here's the problem with the Starfish story. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's where this guy throws a starfish back into the ocean and somebody says, well, you know, what was the point of that? There's so many starfish out here. And he says, it mattered to that one. Guess what? That story has been done so many times in so many ways, nobody wants to hear it anymore. And if you start using too many other stories that you've heard or poems and other things that other people have utilized through their speaking, then people will start to see you as the speaker that doesn't have any original content. We don't want to be that kind of speaker. So number 3 in the don'ts of public speaking. When you're introduced to the stage, don't come to the stage and thank everyone forever. That's a problem. Why? I mean, it's okay to say thank you to the person that introduced you, but you don't need to thank the event planner. You don't need to thank the corporation for bringing you in. You don't need to thank your parents for having you. You don't need to thank the buffet for making the chicken so delicious. I've seen people thank people for 5 minutes before getting into their talk. It's better to come to stage, thank the person who introduced you if you need to, and then roll into your speech. Even better would be to just come to stage and begin your presentation. Here's a top don't in public speaking. Don't read your speech. Have you ever been at a presentation where somebody literally stood up there and was holding onto the podium and was reading line by line? That's the worst. We don't want to listen to anybody or watch anybody reading their speech. We want them to give the speech. We want them to tell it to us. Unfortunately, a lot of people are scared when they come to stage. I'll do other things and other videos about how to overcome our fears when we're talking about public speaking. But when it comes to a major don't stand up there and read your speech. No one wants to see you reading. And number 5 of the top 5 don'ts of public speaking is don't try to memorize your speech if you're not a memorization person. I remember going to a speech where a guy stood in front of public professional speakers. It was at an NSA convention. NSA stands for National Speakers Association. This guy got up there and in his nerves, he tried to memorize and recite and deliver his speech. Guess what happened? Blank. 100%. Like as if he had been knocked out. He said the first line perfectly and then it was gone. Now, there is a point to having a few things memorized. A few places within our speech where we might have a quote we've memorized or a line. Do not memorize your speech line by line and try to think that you're going to deliver it perfectly. Unless you're some actor that has to deliver lines that way. As a public speaker, it's your responsibility to not only have the lines delivered properly and in their spot, but also, if you have something blank come up in your mind because you are so memorized, you have to have a spot in your mind where you can go and still talk until you remember where you went. So, don't memorize your speech. It doesn't help anyone. However, what was cool about that NSA event was this. Because they were a bunch of speakers, they knew what had happened to this guy. They actually allowed him to come back 2 days later and try again. It was a very rare moment. He got a standing ovation because he came back to stage and didn't try to be memorized. He just gave a speech, and that's the difference. So I'd like to engage with you in the comments, if you will. If you'll just type in for me 3 titles of signature stories you could share that are original to you. Whether it's that story about Aunt May when she did that funny thing, or that time you were a basketball player back in high school. I would love for you to just write in the comments 3 titles that could be your signature stories and speeches. And so that leads us into the 5 do's of public speaking. The first one is you do want to create signature stories. You want to have something that you're known for, that people are like, oh, you have to hear his story about missing the airplane, or you have to hear the story about when this guy climbed Mount Everest. Those are interesting things. Those become your signature stories. That's why I challenge you to write in the comments what your signature stories would be. We are hired because of our signature stories, and eventually we become so known for them that nobody can ever steal them. So the number 1 do is create your signature stories. Number 2 do is to cite any references, poems, music, authors, ideas, things that you've heard. Give credit where credit is due. So often people might give a quote of something and they don't even know where they got it. Then it's attributed to that speaker who never created it. And that's kind of where the world got sloppy in the social media age. It's important to still do our best to find out where the reference came from. And so if I'm going to quote somebody, I'm going to do my best to say their line well, and I'm going to give them credit. For example, I might say, David O. McKay said this about families. No success in life can compensate for failure in the home. So did you see what I did? I gave credit to David McKay, and then I gave the quote. It would be like me standing up there and saying, now I'm going to sing you a song, and I go into a song, sing us a song, you're the piano man, sing us a song tonight, and half the audience is too young to know that's Billy Joel. Unless I say, hey, that was Billy Joel, half the audience might be like, that guy wrote that song. That guy's a genius. Well, we need to give credit where credit's due. So that is one of the major to-dos of public speaking. Give credit where credit's due. The number 3 top do in public speaking is to engage the audience in a conversational way, not in a monologue way. We don't want them to think that we're just standing up there delivering something we've said 10 trillion times. We want to engage with them in a way that they feel it's a conversation. And a lot of people talk about looking out over the expanse of an entire audience. I agree, but it's really interesting to hone in on one person and just talk to that person for a moment. And then talk to this person for a moment. And then talk to that person for a moment, and then come back to this person. Find the happy faces in the audience. Find the faces in the audience that are giving you something, some engagement. So you don't feel that you're just giving a monologue to everybody. We want to engage with the person in front of us, make them feel it's a conversation just with them, and then we'll impact them even more as a public speaker. One of the things that bothers me the most about a majority of speakers and performers, for example, is this one that I'm about to share. The number 4 to-do of a public speaker is to arrive early and to be prepared. Unfortunately, so often, we become prima donnas. We think, oh, I can just show up, I'll plug in, they'll have everything for me. No, don't do that. Instead, do show up prepared. Show up early. Show up ready to go. And if they have what you need, then just be really grateful. I show up with my bag full of possible opportunities that they may have missed, including wires, laptops, microphone connectors, laptop connections, all the things that I need for a great presentation. I have those with me, just in case. But a major to-do of the speaker, who's a professional, is to show up early, show up not just on time, but early, and be prepared. I would also add to that it's important to listen to the speakers who speak before you. Unfortunately, a lot of keynote speakers think they're so awesome or so special, or maybe they're just busy, I get it, but they arrive just in time to give their speech. That's not enough. If you want to be somebody who truly engages an audience, if you want to be truly great, show up early enough to listen to the speaker who speaks before you. It may be the CEO or the founder of the company who's sharing something very deep and personal and powerful that will affect the way that you share your speech. Unfortunately, so often I hear keynote speakers stand up on that stage and deliver their powerful message without tying it back to the person who just prior said something the opposite. And it would be really neat if they could make that connection between the two. So show up early enough, not just to be prepared, but also to listen to the person who speaks before you and see how you can engage between both their speech and yours and make it more powerful for your audience. And the biggest to-do for all speakers, and so many people ignore this one, this will make you a star forever if you're willing to do it. Number 5 is to end on time. Yeah, that might seem so simple. It is not. Usually there's a little clock down at the bottom of the stage for you to be able to watch. But think about when you've been in a meeting and you've seen the agenda outline and you see that there's a break at the end of the speaker and it shows the time. Have you ever been looking at the time and then looking at your watch and looking at the speaker and thinking, they're late? You start to not like that speaker if you're in the audience. And guess what? As a speaker, nobody cares about your next point, your next slide, your next story if you don't end on time. So be that speaker who religiously ends on time. Here's a couple of bonuses that'll really help you in your speaking. Bonus number 1, don't wing it. Show up prepared. Know what you're going to say. As good as a speaker as you truly are, and people have told you that, don't wing it. Be ready, come with what you're about to say, and deliver it. And then the bonus number 2, record everything that you do so you can watch it back. Record it and improve. That's one of the best things that you can possibly do. One of my favorite things to do is to set up the camera or an audio recorder and to listen back after I have delivered the speech. As I'm flying home, I re-listen to what I just did and I go, oh, that was awesome. Or I say, oh, that was not good. It's okay. Listen to it, record it. That's some bonuses that I hope help. And if you will, I'd love to give you a gift. It's at jasonhewlett.com/ICM. All this is a powerful worksheet that you can do to identify, clarify, and magnify for yourself some of the ways that you can deliver better, create your signature stories, and clarify with others what you have to share. I hope that you'll go check out that ICM Process Worksheet. jasonhewlett.com/ICM, and a link is in the description below.